Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the real world. We assume you'll probably be listening on Tuesday after the long weekend. I'm alive. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. And this is the A to Z podcast. How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I hope by the time people do listen to this on Tuesday, you are alive. But you do have good plans to get good sleep like the good young boy that you are. So we'll see. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Summer is almost over. Fall is almost here. We've had one full weekend of college football. We're a week away from the NFL season fully going on blast. And baseball actually matters to people like Zach and people like my dad who only watched the first month and last month of the season. Well, here we go.
Here we are.
Time is now.
I didn't think about that. I had no idea what damn day it was until you just laid that out. So. I had my high school reunion this weekend. I acted like a petulant, irresponsible child. Had a lot of emotions.
Slow down.
Okay.
Some people out there, the 20th anniversary for high school is a big deal because you don't get to see many of those people. You've moved away. You live in different areas and such. For you, in a small town, you live very close to your alma mater, very close, see a lot of the same jackasses, see a lot of texts, a lot of Facebook pages, requests and things of that nature. What was the 20th anniversary like for one Zach Jackson?
Well, one of my very best friends from elementary school lives in Seattle now, so I don't get to see him. And this morning it was a lot of emotions, just having breakfast and taking him to the airport and knowing I might not see him for many years, But then also it's like I'm like 3 White Claws from permanent disability, so I needed to come home, drink some water, and do this podcast. So, yeah. So no, there was, I would say like of my very best friends. 2 of them live in the Akron area. One of them lives close, but I saw, people from Columbus, from Chicago, from Seattle, guys come in from Philly, stuff like that. So it was good. It was fun to see everybody. The most fun was it was at one of the lakeside bars, so we went, by boat. And then when we left, there was like people I'd never seen before in my life were somehow on the boat. And then next thing you know, it was Sunday morning, and I was late for our fantasy draft, and there was like 7 people asleep in my house. And I don't know who they were, but anyway, we live to tell about it. This has been American Fireworks Glory Days.
Glory days. Oh, Zach had a bunch of old people in his house. Glory days.
Speaking of American Fireworks,
learning their names.
He's singing. It's football season. He's singing, folks. The A to Z podcast is so back.
5 and 11. Don't ask me what you think the Browns are going to go. You know I'm going to tell you 5 and 11.
American Fireworks is one of our sponsors. Cleveland Scene is another. The third is a Honeymoon Grill. And I'll tell you, I'll endorse them by saying this. We tried to go there for breakfast this morning. We couldn't get in. It's pretty good. You guys should check it out. Even noted A to Z podcaster Zach Jackson couldn't get a seat at Honeymoon Grill.
That's bullshit. We say they ain't more than anybody else. I got them all on Instagram. Zach's fat ass can at least get into one of them little aisles and give him a sandwich. You know he don't act right. I actually had somebody. I've been telling people most of this podcast is going to be me asking you questions and attacking you one way or the other.
Good idea. Good.
Well, it's 53. I want to make this a 53-man roster pod, but we can join with some other things. I never went to my 20th anniversary. I don't even know if we had one for high school. But over the weekend, I did run into about 15 people that I did go to high school with. When I went to my nephew's football practice and went to his football game on Saturday. And it is amazing that I've somehow lived within 30 miles of most of these people for the last 20 years and been able to avoid them and not see them. But it's pretty cool to see them and just to see where we're all at in life. It's just different. It was eye-opening to see. And I think the great thing is, I guess this is why I asked you about the 20-year anniversary, because I was around about 5, 6 guys that I really hung out with tough, at the 16, 17, 18, 19 years of age. And you put us all together on a football field or around a football field again, and it was like 20 years had elapsed, but we were all the same people, 22, 23 years. Mm-hmm. And nothing had changed. The same shit talking was going on, the same, I guess, love of friends that comes about, which is a cool thing because you can have friends and you can make acquaintances throughout your life. But I guess there's nothing like the guys that you first made a complete ass of yourself with.
Sure.
Being able to recall that and talk about that. So I never went to my 20th anniversary, but I had a good weekend where I was able to see some people that the people I would have wanted to see if I would have ever went to a reunion. So that was
well,
cool
yeah.
today.
I mean, you said it, and we talked about this before. Like the Facebook era, the digital era, everything's changed. Like it's easier than ever to stay in touch with people, right? Like we are like best friends and business partners, and I've seen you one time in 7 months, but we text every hour of every day, right? Like,
right.
You know, it's just how it goes. And so, yeah. So I was in touch with a lot of people. I will say this: I reckon of the 40 or 50 people that were there, I recognized everyone. You know, like there was not when I was like, holy shit, who is that? You know, now maybe in a couple cases I had seen them on social media, so I knew what they looked like if they're rocking a different hair color or style or whatever. And, you know, when I was 18, Dre, I looked like I was 11. And now that I'm 39, I look like I'm 49. So, you know, is what it is.
Oh, shit, that's funny.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. So I've been seeing a lot of the pictures from the last couple days, and I'm not in many of them. So people were posing for pictures, and I guess I was over in the corner talking shit, whatever. But had a good time. It was cool. And like I said, it is interesting as you go. Like there are people that I used to work with or went to college with or something, you know, some sort of bond we had for X number of years that I actually talk to more now, even if I never see them. They live in New Jersey. They live in Seattle. They live in Missouri. Right. But because texting has done that, and because I'm on social media all day, and then they're either saying, I can't believe you tweeted that, or tell me more about that, or whatever. You know, and you get to see pictures of the kids, and you get to see all sorts of things. So it's awesome. So, as it is, a weekend like that, it's good for the soul. It really is. It's hard on my liver. It's hard on my wallet. I got to grow up in that regard. But it's a really great transition. I didn't watch much college football. I just didn't. I've been busy in a haze.
I honestly didn't either.
Yeah, it's a great way to roll through. And now, you know, NFL preseasons are totally over. They're a joke. Roster cuts are totally over. It's onward and upward. And it's like I'm telling 2 or 3 different people this morning in digital conversations. Like it's really here. Sunday is really here. And, you know, some of them it was hopefully see you in the Muni lot, hopefully see you here. But otherwise it's like, all right, I'm ready to roll. So it'll be cool. Like it's the one game of the year that I will get my ass out of bed early, ready to rock, go up. Go see some people tailgate. I think the energy in and around Cleveland on Sunday is going to be amazing. And I'll tell you this, I will fully segue like the pro that I am by saying I would not be surprised. I think the Browns have a chance to win the game. I really do.
Ooh, slow down, partner. Slow down. The claw is the law. We'll see. I mean, I said in the last pod that if there's a time and chance to beat the Steelers, it's week 1. I think everyone has equal opportunities in week 1 of an NFL season, just because there's so many wrinkles that you can throw out. There's so much newness. And to be honest, you asked me a couple weeks ago about Cody Allen, maybe a week ago, whatever, just about Cody Allen and just the mental part of the game of getting him back. And I think the mental part of where the Browns are at plays into this just as much. They haven't had their faces shoved in the sand for 8 weeks already or 9 weeks. So they practice all week long with the belief that they are a different team, that they are different people, that they no longer are that 1 in 31 atrocity that they've been. But they're going to wake up on Sunday and Hugh Jackson's still going to be their coach. But that's nor here nor there.
This sounds so much like a poolside conversation I had with 3 or 4 people yesterday that you were not privy to. but you've met these people. They follow the Browns closely from afar, just like you do. And my God, it's like you were there.
I mean, it is what it is. You can't help it. But, I'll say this. You did a really good job of doing your 53-man, and I wouldn't call you out, but I don't know. I would say you would about 90%. You call your 53-man what you thought the 53-man would be. I know I was pretty easygoing in saying the 2 guys that Hard Knocks made the biggest noise about weren't going to make the team. I said that about the tight end, like the first show. I was like, he ain't going to make the team. Stop. And I know some people were about the defensive end. I know, you know what, it pulls at your strings because you see his kids and you see his wife making cookies. She still can make them. I like cookies. But, like, that emotional, and then he scores a touchdown in week 4 of the preseason. And I'm like, and I said to you in the pod, I was like, that ain't going to change whether they keep him or not. Like, that's like,
exactly.
Playing against other guys that skip, like, and I hate to say this, but I said this to somebody that's a big Browns fan that works for the Indians, and I simply said, if you're watching a guy play more than 30 snaps in a preseason game, especially week 4, he probably ain't on the team.
Right.
Like, that's just if he plays a ton of snaps in week 1 of the preseason,
sure,
he probably ain't on the team.
Right. There are exceptions to that, but you are, that is right there. Here's the reality, guys. Nate Orchard has never been a starting caliber NFL player. Carl Nassib has never been a starting caliber NFL player. Just hasn't.
No.
They're 1-31 has not been by accident. We've been telling you that. And so the opportunity came. I mean, to me, like I said, I was wrong. I had Jeremiah McKinnon making it over Denzel Rice. Denzel Rice, made it. We'll see how that all shakes out going forward. But I didn't see Meter coming because they started him every day. They ended up getting big Carl Davis from the Ravens, who they saw not only as a guy that had to claim, but an immediate starter, rotational player for them. They moved on from Brantley. So that was really the only shock. You could see the Sean Coleman trade coming, from a mile away. You knew Kajus was not going to make the active roster.
Right.
But, John Dorsey has been aggressive, and he's been saying, and whether people like it, how he said the real players thing or not, whether you want to point to the fact that the Sashi Brown group did bring in some real players, Garrett and Agba, who are cornerstones of this defense and of this franchise, sure. But it was a huge, terrible experiment. In 2016, the Browns had 5 of the first 93 picks. They have 1 player from that group, and it's Emmanuel Agba.
But I was listening to radio. Chris Fedor said that he did the greatest job of all time.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people out there that live in fantasy land and think that too. So, look, it wasn't just him.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question about the defensive line real quick. You talked about the big dude they brought in from Baltimore. If I read this right, it was either you or someone else. They only have 3 defensive tackles, right?
Yes.
So on passing downs, they're just going to basically go with speed, pass rushers.
Well, when you look at it,
and I'm asking, do you think that'll affect the run defense?
Well, no, here's the way they look at it. So the first 2 weeks they play the Saints and Steelers, who are almost exclusively going to be three receiver alignments, right? So they'll rotate the 3 defensive tackles. Chad Thomas, the rookie, he's listed as an end, but he can play tackle. And the way they line up, Dre, with the way they play the 3 linebackers together, they sell out to stop the run. That's part of the reason that tight ends and running backs are wide open. So they feel like on obvious passing downs, when they can play with the lead or they can get people backed up, that they move Myles Garrett, they move Agba, they move those guys inside. But they feel confident based on the matchups and based on what they have, that 3.5-ish true defensive tackles can get them through at least the first 2 games, and then you reassess from there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That just jumped out to me. I'm not saying they're wrong or right.
No, it did. It did. I mean, some teams have to keep 11 or 12 DBs. Some teams keep 7 defensive ends. You can play them at linebacker, play them on special teams. It's just the shape that you have, and then you got to make some decisions. Obviously you make, with your better players, you make it with the long term in mind. But sometimes when it gets to those final 10 guys, it's about what do we face the next 3 weeks, who's available. I mean, the big deal is Jannard Avery was back at practice on Monday, and this is a guy that is not ready to be a full-time linebacker or full-time player, but he's been athletic and impressive enough that he can play part-time, and so he'll play on every special team or damn close, and he'll play on passing downs. So knowing that they had him allows them to say, okay, when there's times we can move Agba down inside, and we can do it this way.
Gotcha.
And if it's at the expense of a defensive tackle.
You just hit on something that's very important, putting a roster together of 53 men and only having, 45 that are active on
46,
Sunday.
yep.
Yeah, the versatility of a guy like you just said, who can be in the passing situations, was going to be a ton. As you said, against teams, they're going to be 3 wide sets in the next 2 weeks, but also special teams. And we never – and it's hard to do it. You never break down during preseason special teams. And when you say special teams guy, not just a guy that can run down and cover punts. Can you be on the punt team? Can you be on the kickoff team? Can you block on the kick return team? Those guys end up being important because they end up playing basically four positions almost, and that takes up 1 roster spot. But if it can help you in passing downs, it can help you in different situations. Those guys become guys that have better locks on roster spots than maybe a guy that's just a pass rusher. I love that too. Every time you make the final cuts, I hear everybody, they're going to look for the best pass rusher out there. Hey, pass rushers are like pitchers in baseball. Teams just don't let pass rushers just out and about for free. If a guy can go after quarterback and can beat a tackle one-on-one, they will keep him 9 times out of 10 over a guy that's a good run stopper every day, every team.
We just had a generational in his prime likely Hall of Fame pass rusher get traded this week. How unbelievable is that? I mean,
what is John Gruden doing?
Yeah, and listen, as I've tried to write and say, like the time for the Browns to make a blockbuster if they were going to do it was back in March and early April when they had that draft capital. However, when you're sitting on $70 million in cap space and you're talking about 2-2s and 2-1s and getting a 2 back and swapping some other picks for Khalil Mack and being able to trade him, I'm not going to kill Dorsey for not doing it because I don't know the circumstances. But when I saw that price, I spit out my White Claw and said, "Holy shit! How did the Browns not do this?"
Yeah, I've been bouncing back and forth on this. If you think Mack is a once of a generation pass rusher, it's worth it. Now that's up to you what you qualify him as what he is. I think he's pretty damn good. I still remember him playing against Ohio State at Buffalo and picking off Braxton Miller and giving Braxton Miller
one of the all-time performances. Yes, unbelievable. The guy is. I just don't get why the Raiders would do this. Because you're not going to be up. I don't give a damn how many draft picks the Raiders got out of this. They're not, most likely, the chances of them finding another guy that has the impact that he's had are none. I just don't see that happening. That's the risk. I think John Gruden's playing a little Sashi Brown roulette. He has a little bit more cachet because he's John Gruden. But this is why it was smart that Bill Cowher stayed in the booth. I just feel like John Gruden. Now, I've heard whispers that the Raiders may be low on money. I've heard a lot of different things. But regardless, you don't give up your best players. This is a big deal that Mack was traded because you don't ever see players of his caliber traded, especially if you can see him getting traded if there were some off-field issues. Right.
And you know what I mean? Like if there have been, and there's been none. The guy's been a hell of a player and he wants to get paid like it. That was the problem. That's not a problem in most NFL cities. And most cities, if you live up to the standard of what they drafted you for, you get paid. Unfortunately, Oakland didn't do that. And speaking of Oakland, one of my favorite non-favorites of all time, Brent Musburger, who will be their play-by-play guy going forward, after they traded for A.J. McCarron. Did you see what he tweeted?
Yes. I
love
it.
Is he off his rocker?
No, he's poking fun at himself because that thing blew up, probably more than it should have a few years ago, and he's just embracing
which is awesome about him, to be honest.
Yeah,
you can't really do that nowadays in our world.
To my fellow dirty old men out there, embrace it, baby. Love it, live it, don't run from it.
Brett definitely is.
Yeah.
He put his ass in Vegas and he just don't give a damn.
Well, listen, I don't want to spend too much time on this Mack thing because he got traded to a team the Browns only play once every 4 years. He's not going to get traded again, blah, blah, blah. We got years to debate, Hall of Fame, all that. We'll see how it works out, right?
Right.
But it is important in a couple levels. One, the Raiders have had a disastrous off-the-field offseason because they gave up a 3 for Martavis Bryant, which they never should have done because if the Steelers are willing to trade Martavis Bryant, they're telling you that they're done with his act. Real NFL teams do that, by the way, guys. They get tired of shitheads and they jettison him off. And then he gets cut.
Really?
And he's facing another suspension. And then now you have this. So you have Gruden and you have Carr under contract and you have Amari Cooper, right? So, and you're selling a move to Vegas, like you have to find a way to pay Khalil Mack. And they blinked in this negotiation because he refused to report. And you're right, it does seem like a cash-on-hand issue, Dre, but he was on the 5th-year option, and then they sit on the franchise tag, so they didn't really have to. I mean, Khalil said, I'm not coming until I get this contract. But, yeah, really bad and something that they could, for a long time, could hurt them because –
yeah,
I wanted to say this too.
Well,
I'm going to do this, and every writer covering every team across the league this week, guys, is going to do some article of here's the 5 or 10 things that have to happen for this team, for the Browns, the Bills, the Chargers, whoever. Right? The old cliche. Here's the 8 things that have to go right for your team this year, right? And there are subtle differences, and everybody will write it differently. And the truth is, as the season evolves, everybody's path is different based on your personnel, what hand you're dealt, all these things. But the 3 cores for 90%, and that might be a low number, are A, your quarterback stays healthy, B, your quarterback plays well, and C, do you tee off on opposing quarterbacks? Are you able to make everybody's life better by doing that? And they traded a guy who was either the best or second best pass rusher in the league, a guy who's changed games for them in the past, and a guy who's good enough to change games, get them into the playoffs, and then if they were there, win games what it's all about. So,
he can win you a playoff. He can win you a playoff game. He can win you a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And I got to say, I'm not, and I guess because I don't do radio full time anymore, and I don't have to do this, I'm not one way or the other on this. But I did for a couple minutes before the trade went down in Chicago. I did think, imagine building a defense between Mack and Garrett,
right?
Myles Garrett. I mean, just think about what you could. And I know money could get weird in a couple of years, and I know that you could be, heavy one side financially, but like you said, you're $70 million, and you're sitting on $70 million. And I'm not saying they should have did it. I'm not. But at the same time, God bless America. Could you see those two getting single blocked? Like, that would change the game. That you could actually, because the thing is, there's moments and times where I want to be positive about the Browns where I'm going, their defense may be good enough. But I don't see the 85. I don't see the 85 Bears being impressive in the game today. The way the game is played, the 85 Bears were great against the run. They put 8 guys in a damn box and scared the shit out of you. You do that now, they'll spread you out and they'll kill you. So, having two guys that can go after the quarterback, and you can line them up wherever, however, and they can beat one-on-one, that makes your defense a Swiss Army knife, and there's not many of those in the NFL at this point in time.
What did we talk about this summer since July 1st when what's-his-name left? What did Hard Knocks open with? That banner coming down, right, on the Sherwin-Williams building?
Yep.
Imagine Mack and Garrett. There's your answer. Mack and Garrett right next to each other. Athletic Addict could open back up and sell a fucking million of those posters of those two back-to-back sitting there in their Browns uniforms.
All day. You want the dog pound back? You want the dog pound back? Stop getting swagger bones and go get fucking Khalil Mack.
Amen.
That'll bring the dog pound back. You want the dog pound?
Quit running the dog around the fucking field and go get Khalil Mack.
Right. That man fucking coming. He's gaining weight. Leave Swagger alone. Damn.
Craig, I know you're listening. Please clip what Dre just said right there. That was A to Z history right there. Please clip that for us. Thank you.
I'm not saying they had to make the move, but shit, you don't have that many opportunities to get players like that, man. And
no, you don't. You don't.
Kudos to the Bears. We'll see if it works.
Listen, we were talking about other things these last few weeks, but I had kind of made a mental note that if and when this came up, I was going to say to both the Rams and the Raiders, what are you doing? Why don't you just get this done? You know you're giving Aaron Donald his money.
Right.
Why don't you just do it? Raiders, you know you're not trading Khalil Mack. Why don't you just do it? And then they trade him. Like,
right.
Oh, man. Yeah, really, really, really strange times. Okay.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you fantasy football something real quick.
Okay.
Because it plays into how we look at teams. Because it's not about your fantasy football team, but it's about how fans that watch NFL look at the NFL. How did the Rams players get drafted in the drafts you were around? Rams and Eagles players. The Eagles players were hard to. In the one draft I was in, the Eagles players were hard to decipher of who's the number one, whether it be running back, whether it be wide receiver. And I'm not even talking about the quarterback situation. I just think they were so good but so explosive that everybody forgets if it was Nelson Aguilar. Seriously. And the Rams are kind of the same way in the draft that I paid attention to.
All right, I'll start with the Eagles. Zach Ertz was consistently the first one to go, especially in a PPR league.
Okay.
I mean, he is the second or third most targeted tight end in the league, and he's a really good player. And Foles and Wentz, and it's going to be Foles at least for week one, and probably more likely for a month. They like him. Now, Alshon Jeffrey was generally second. Yeah. I think most people don't know that he's going to miss at least the first 2 weeks. I just think that they're drafting a name, 5th or 6th round. So that bumps Nelson Aguilar up. Now, he also missed a lot of the preseason with a minor injury, but this is a fourth-year guy by now. He kind of found a role last year when they got him in the slot, and they stopped worrying about him being a first-round pick and all the pressure and just started allowing him to make plays. Ajayi, I think he went in that right about where you would think, 10th back off the board, 14th back off the board, something like that.
Right.
They do share there, so that's interesting. Rams, Todd Gurley went 1 or 2 in every draft in America. If it didn't happen,
no doubt.
It was personal bias. Cowboys fans were taking Zeke, or Steelers fans were taking AB, something like that, right? Brandon Cooks went. So I think if you play and you follow, all these experts and these dorks and these guys, they tell you not to take quarterbacks. I've always followed that philosophy. Jared Goff went really low in most of them, but in the Galley Boys draft, he went in the 4th round, and I about fell off my chair.
What?
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll go going early.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think the Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp went much, much later.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Rams defense.
I think Cooper Kupp is. I think he's going to give you a ton of catches.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm just admitting those two offenses were explosive as could be last year, but they were hard teams to draft this fall, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's because they spread it out and they ran decent offenses that you couldn't key on one guy. It makes them difficult to draft in fantasy. So I find it interesting to see how people react to them a year later.
Right. The Galley Boys draft started at 8 o'clock, about 20 minutes away from my house. I woke up at 8:03. Showed up in time.
I'll be honest. I know it's hard for everybody. I know everybody's got lives, kids, jobs, and, golf leagues. 8 a.m. on a Sunday is no way to start a draft.
No. But it's reality,
too early.
Man. It's what we got to do.
It is.
I know. We got to do. Normally I get jazzed up too. Like I have an Aaron Hernandez jersey and a Manziel, but I was just a mess. There was one guy in an O.J. Simpson jersey. There was an Urlacher.
Nice.
We have Dave the Standard Steelers fan gear. So
some 50-year-old was laying on your jersey at your house.
No, but I wasn't involved. So anyway, Mom, sorry. All right, so here's
up. Meatloaf, Mom, meatloaf.
All right. Here's how we're gonna cap. Here's how we're gonna cap this football-only edition, holiday edition of A to Z. Dre, before I go jump in the pool, when we're done here, I'm gonna be working on an article in which I give some Browns predictions, some mildly saucy ones to start, 4 or 5, with 2 or 3 kind of stronger ones. So,
okay.
Whether you want to guess what those may be, or you just want to fire some questions to me. Let's do it that way. Okay.
Questions from Garrett in 2018.
You broke up for a second. Say that again.
What's your give me a number of what do you expect from Myles Garrett in 2018?
Okay, I would put the number at 11.5 sacks, and I would expect. I would say there is a great possibility that he could break that. Now, a lot goes into this, guys. He has to stay healthy. It looks like last year's injuries were of the freakish variety. You just always worry about a big guy that's had lower leg and foot problems. That's just what you do.
No doubt.
And for him to do it, he not only has to beat double teams, the team has to be winning. He has to have the chance to tee off. And he can impact the game a lot of ways besides getting sacks. But I think that he is so much more confident in just starting to figure this out. I mean, he only played 10 games as a rookie, and it's hard even when you're that gifted. And I think he played a lot of them at less than 100%. So I wouldn't.
He played all of it less than 100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't put an outrageous number on it, but I think 11.5 would be a good over/under for Myles Garrett sacks.
All right, how many times is Jarvis Landry gonna bless him? Like, let's be honest, because you and I both have feelings about what we thought of him when he got traded here. Mm-hmm. And I know that you got to see him in training camp, you got to see him in OTAs. We obviously all got to see him in Hard Knocks. He's a hard player not to think that he can't be great, but I also know that he has some things that stops him from being great when the season starts.
Yeah, there were two guys in camp in the preseason that were clearly the best players on the Browns. One was Myles Garrett and one was Jarvis Landry, right? They were out there earning their stripes. So we know the guy that's never earned his stripes that comes back now, Josh Gordon, that affects balls that go Jarvis Landry's way. The emergence of Njoku affects balls that goes Jarvis Landry's way. And frankly, I think if this offense plays well, that Higgins and Duke Johnson and those guys will make defenses pay for slanting a certain way. I think ultimately Jarvis is a slot receiver who can play in stretches at other places. I think he will have 75 or more catches, Dre. I think he will have at least 6 touchdowns, and he will have a good year. But the next layer of Jarvis Landry is Jarvis Landry controlling his emotions when things go right. Jarvis Landry
it's contagious, bro.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
Not getting you 15-yard penalties for hitting people after the play or punching them in the mouth, and him just locking in. So he is a big part. From a talent standpoint, they stole him for a 4 and a 7. And I was a little skeptical on that money, but they had to do it. They had to do it, right? And now it's time for Jarvis to be an adult and to produce. And Tyrod and Baker and the Browns in general, you have got on paper the best in 11 years, the best cast of skill players, opportunity for an offense in stretches to score and to hand it over to the defense with the lead and let Miles do his thing. But we need in 16. Adam Gase had enough of the Jarvis Landry experience. Let's put it that way. So let's see in December what we think of the Jarvis Landry experience.
Who will lead the Cleveland Browns in rushing?
I think I could make a case for all three. But right now, Labor Day 2018, looking ahead to December 30th, I still believe Nick Chubb will end up leading them in rushing. I do.
Wow, you think the rookie's still going to do it? Okay.
I think he still will do it. Yes, but let me give Hyde credit. I think Hyde showed up in great shape and he ran really confidently in those 2 preseason games, and he's done everything they've asked him to. So we'll see how it goes. I would have thought that we wouldn't know anything about right now about how it's going to shake out, and I think big picture we do. However, no doubt going in these first 2 games, no doubt to me that he's the number 1 back for now, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay, I like that. How many games does Tyrod Taylor start in 2018?
I think as many as 14 and as few as 3.
As many as 14. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so here's what I think. I think on paper, the plan with the quarterbacks was great. And I think in theory, it was great. And I think for April, May, and June, and the last week of July, it was well executed. But I just think the reality, guys, is that Tyrod has a ceiling. And that when Baker came to camp and noticeably made strides and learned the offense and showed up at 5:15 a.m. and stayed till 11:15 and did all these things, I think it was malpractice for him to not get at least some snaps with number ones. I mean, that's the thing. Baker made some good throws, and he is as advertised with work ethic, with command of the offense, with feel for the game. I mean, guys just don't feel the game the way that he does.
True.
But to make proclamations and think that him lighting up 2s and 3s and hitting fucking C.J. Board and Rashard Higgins against guys that have been cut means he's there. Like, he needs that work. So I just think the reality is that when the Browns get out of these first 2 games and then have that Super Bowl in the short week, I think after that, all bets are off and anything's in play.
Yeah, I agree with that. I understand why you said that about the preseason, and I would be fine with it if this city wasn't the way this city is. And unfortunately, I feel like they made a decision based on they had to control the beast one way or the other.
They lived in their fears, right? Is exactly what they did.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Your banana theory that was so spot the fuck on last year, they knew they turned Deshaun Kaiser into the most scared, most messed up banana ever, that they were benching him for no reason in October because they had mentally damaged him so much. And they let that, a number 52 pick, an early entry, an immature kid, all this thrown at him, they let that affect their thinking with Baker Mayfield, 5-year college player, Heisman Trophy winner, a guy you drafted specifically for his off-the-field traits and his readiness. They let that affect their thinking, and I don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, but I think we all, in every situation, we all make decisions based off of things that have happened to us in the past. And for once, and I know Lyman hasn't wanted to hear this, and I get where everybody's coming from, but at the same time, I would just say I'd rather them walk on the side of caution than walk on the other side that they've always walked on.
And I totally agree. Like I said, there's no easy answer here. Like I said, I love the theory of let's go get Tyrod Taylor for a draft pick that we don't really covet. Let's go get Drew Stanton. Let's have adults in the room and let's do that, right? And I love that Tyrod is playing right now, and that Baker gets to go through these weeks of learning the prep of getting ready for Sunday at 1, not just getting ready for a meaningless preseason game or installing, right? I love all of that. I just think The reality is that this is the guy that you drafted. He's going to be the quarterback. It's going to be sooner than later. So I totally agree that there's no reason to throw him out there on Sunday, and there's no reason to throw him to the Wolves. But I also think the line between that and just being ignorant and not allowing him to get in the huddle with the first offense when he's a snap away, right, except when you needed to in that third preseason game, I think that was extremely short-sighted, and you worried about outside perception and headlines, and real teams don't do that. I think my number one takeaway from Hard Knocks is how many times did Todd Haley say real teams or good teams don't do this, don't do this, don't do this.
Yeah.
And it's just alarming as hell.
He's been right about that.
Yes.
And you and I have said, and that's been the biggest take for me, is that the most intelligent guy in the room has been Todd Haley. If you know Todd Haley's history, there's some good to that, but there's some bad to that. But to the honesty in him, look, real teams can put things together. I think we're agreeing on something. This team is not a real team. Where they've been and where they're trying to go are two different things. And I think sometimes when you are at that case, you can't go from they have to go through this the right way. And to me, they haven't been able to they can't handle their own room. You got a coach that's bouncing around like you and I just got a whole thing of White Claw for free because the guy that's been suspended and missed the last 50 fucking games is fucking off a plane. I mean, look at the maturity of how they handle things. So, therefore, because I feel like it's when I was 16 and my dad, I was able to drive. And my dad, he got me a fucking Suburban that was huge, and he knew they only went up to 60 miles an hour and would shake when it went to 70. And it was his way of saying, I know you want to drive, I know you like to drive fast, but you can't drive this big thing fast, so I'm going to give you the – you see what I'm like? It's the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to give you Baker Mayfield, and I'm going to let you get him ready, but there ain't no way in the hell I'm letting you put him out in the field because you're going to fall in love with those traits that you just talked about. And just because you have those traits doesn't mean you're ready to be the starting quarterback of the team. And we saw that with Kaiser last year. And I'm not comparing Kaiser to Baker. I'm not comparing Baker to Johnny. But the one thing the Browns have done, they fall in love with a couple characteristics and forget about all the other things that come to being a successful quarterback of a successful team. I give them credit because they know, hey, knowing oneself is like half the way of being competitive and good in life, right? Know oneself. Sure. They can't control themselves. And I don't know if Baker is I still, at this moment in time, I don't know if Baker Mayfield is the answer as the Browns quarterback. He has a lot of characteristics that look like he could be, but I can't sit here right now. If you told me to put $1,000 down on what he would be as a quarterback, I still couldn't answer, Zach.
Yeah.
And I don't think everybody out in Berea could either. Right. Yes, he looks like he has a chance, but there's no guarantee of it just yet.
Exactly. If I said, Joe, you got to bet $1,000 on will he ever win 9 games or not, you would have to think long and hard.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah, I would.
Right.
Yeah, I would.
But that's outside. Inside is he's their guy, and they got to get better around him, and they got to get him better. They got to coach him up. They got to go do all those things. Right? So,
right.
Yeah, there's never an easy answer. It is the most important position in sports. It's a hard thing. As far as you saying the other thing you said about looking at who's here and how they haven't accomplished nothing and how they need to come out of this. Look, guys, I look at what's been assembled here, and it's much better. And I'm telling you, over the course of the course of 32 teams, talent-wise, the Browns have a chance on any given Sunday to beat anybody. Last year, I showed up at the stadium 16 times, and 16 times I knew what the result was going to be. This year, it's not that. The challenge faced right now by Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley, Greg Williams, Tyrod, Landry, all these guys we've been over, is that they have to take these upgraded pieces that have not been whole, that are doing this, and they somehow have to find a way to either beat the Steelers or the Saints, teams that have had their quarterbacks for 10 years and their coaches for 10 years and playoff experience and all this stuff. They got to find a way to beat one of those, or else all of a sudden it's back off the rails, and your coach is up there scrambling, covering his own ass, saying it's about all this stuff that's going to go on. So, bottom line is, the Browns. Browns have the pieces.
You told me the first 2 weeks come down to Hugh Jackson versus Mike Tomlin, or Hugh Jackson versus a guy that's won a Super Bowl.
Browns have the pieces. Look, what do I say about the Bengals every year? Talent to go 12-4, fragile enough to go 4-12. Right? Browns have the pieces. Browns have the pieces to go 7-9. But how are you going to pick them to win more than 4 games until you see it happen?
You can't.
Right. So
I only pick 5-11 so I can sing the song.
Well, that's all you've ever wanted in life is to sing 5-11.
This might be the best. This might be the best preview that you guys will hear. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want them to. Hey, I want to be positive. I want to see them win 6 games, 7 games. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to go into off season and not have quarterback controversies and not question the coach. But unfortunately, I think a lot of that's still going to happen. And how they deal with that will tell me more about this season than wins and losses.
All right. As we go to get out of here, is 5-11 your official Andre Knott prediction, or should we save that for later?
Absolutely. No, 5-11 is my prediction. I think the first couple of weeks are going to be tough. I think getting the identity, and I think putting the guy that's been in rehab and everywhere else, just planting him in an offense quickly, and then how he's – and the thing with him is he's like the pretty girl at the prom. Everybody's going to stare at him. Everybody likes looking at him. Everybody's going to take shots at him. And half the time he isn't even going to know where the fuck he's supposed to be. That doesn't help an offense. And you know what that is? And you know what that's going to do to the other guy? You thought that contagious rant he had was bad? Wait till he doesn't get a ball on 3rd and 3 because they're trying to get it to Gordon 4 times in a row. Watch.
I make this pick with hesitation because I do believe in the talent upgrade. I do believe in the leadership upgrade as far as the locker room. And I do believe I see some pieces on defense that if a few guys continue to emerge, that this defense could have some days where it can be dominant. But I do have a little overall hesitation about some things, and including, winning in close games and staying healthy. And, look, when you're claiming 5 guys, Dre, on Labor Day Sunday, that means you're not really there, right?
When
you're not sure.
I was going to ask that earlier. Yes, yeah. You're right.
When barring injury, when you're not sure who your quarterback's going to be come Thanksgiving, you're probably not good. So my official prediction is also 5-11, and the Dre remix will be coming to a Coconuts near you. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks, as always, to Scene, to Honeymoon, and American Fireworks. AmericanFireworks.com. It's always open. It's still summer for a little bit. Go blow some stuff up. Thanks for listening. Facebook.com/AZ Podcast.
I got to do one more thing. I know my wife never listens this far into a podcast, so it probably won't matter. But happy anniversary to her. Appreciate her putting up with me this long. And Zach as well.
7 years ago today, I was late for your wedding.
8 years ago. Don't tip me short. Zach showed up at a wedding as we were walking not down the aisle, but back out of the aisle. What a life we've lived. Y'all be good. Get some cloth. Konnichiwa. It's contagious.
Konnichiwa. We'll see ya.